Hello everyone, Tina here. I hope your day is going wonderful. I'm so glad you're here with me today. Today we are celebrating day 8 of the Spellbinders 12 Days of Stitchmas Advent Calendar. We're going to create a couple of cards using it, and I waited to open up my day 8 of my Advent calendar so we could do this together, and then we're going to jump in and create some cards. This is our day 8. Let's take a look at it here. Opening presents. You get 12 presents here. Oh goodness, this is beautiful. Before I share with you what's in day 8, I want to go over something really quickly with the Advent calendar. I believe Spellbinders had made some changes. Now, first of all, I want to share that Spellbinders invited me to be part of their blog series. So if you're looking for inspiration from day 1 to day 7, head on over to Spellbinders blog because there's lots of inspiration. They're going to have it all the way through day 12. Fabulous designers are designing and stitching using this. Okay. Now, number 2, I wanted to mention, if you are a fan, not of the 12 days of Stitchmas, but are you a fan of the Spellbinders Advent calendar? I know last year Spellbinders was having some issues with the dies sliding in different pockets and different doors, and I believe they fixed it because the way they packaged this was pretty fabulous and nothing shifted and nothing moved. So if you are looking for the Advent calendar for 2023 from Spellbinders, I'll link down below because I believe they fixed the glitches. That was the debut of the Advent calendar, and it was a big hit, but there was issues with each of the doors sliding. How they fixed it, well, let me show you. I had already opened day 1 through day 7, well actually day 8 today. So I want to share with you, I haven't opened the rest of them, so my day 11's not open. Now I'm going to go ahead and show you day 1. Day 1, first of all, well, you can see I was a little excited when I opened all my doors. I kind of tore into it. But if you flip over day 1's door, it'll be attached. You'll see an image on here. Now this image coordinates with your die set. So there's no mistaking what die set goes with what door. So if you have a, if you want to watch a video on day 1, you know that the Christmas tree is day 1 because of it. And I believe the Advent calendar for 2023 has the same thing. Don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure. So there's no mistaking what goes with what. 2, there's probably no way that your gift in each of the windows will slide because, first of all, the dies are not glued down. None of the dies are glued down. How they're secured inside each of the plastic sections is with paper. So you actually have to tear into the paper for this to move. So that's like double security for your doors. You can see here I kind of had to destroy my paper to get to this one. And then you can also see the Noel. This is a pretty fabulous kit, huh? You get to see all the dies. This is a huge Noel. So there's no mistaking with what goes with what. This is day 7. You can see here and here. And I believe you can see the paper that's underneath it. You actually have to tear into the paper to get it. So I know sometimes it was a little bit discouraging with the die sliding. So Spellbinders 12 Days of Stitchmas, you will have no problem. So I thought I would share that with you since the 12 Days of Stitchmas is pretty similar to the Spellbinders Advent calendar. Of course, the Advent calendar is a lot bigger and doesn't have stitching elements, but I'm going to go ahead and put this off to the side. Let's take a look. This is the die set. It's a 4-piece die set for day 8, and I'm loving it. I love the fancy font of the Joy, and I also love that there's an ornament that you could put on the inside, and then it has a shadow also. So we're going to take our stitch along kit and do some die cutting. I love the vinyl bag that this comes in. Let's take out some cardstock. We're going to go with traditional colors for our cards today, but I do know I want some glitz. So we're going to take my glitter foam and we'll take some white cardstock, some of our brushed silver, and also our red. This looks like Poppy Field. For my first project, we're going to use the red, the brushed silver, the white, and our gold glitter foam. And I'm going to go ahead and use my paper trimmer, and I'm going to trim these down into quarter panels. So basically we're just going to cut them in quarters. It's just easier for card making. I'll do that and I'll be right back. I went ahead and created some A2 panels, and now we're going to do some die cutting. For my first card, we're actually going to use day 8, which is the joy, but I also am going to bring in day 5, which is this beautiful snowflake. I want to create a background using the snowflake. So we're going to die cut this out too. So this is day 5 of our 12 days of Stitchmas advent calendar. We're going to use the ornament top with our gold glitter foam, and then I'm also going to die cut out the background shadow with my gold glitter foam. Using red cardstock, I'll take that same shadow and I'll die cut this out also. And with white cardstock, we're going to die cut out our joy. And then I'm going to take day 5, which is the beautiful snowflake. I'm going to layer both of the shadow and the snowflake together, and I will just tape this down. I want to create a real thin frame with this. We'll tape down our joy too. And then for our ornament piece, our stitching piece, I'll die cut this out with white cardstock also. And again, I'll die cut out my shadow. I have some die cutting to do. I will be right back. Everything is die cut. I did die cut out an extra set of my joy pieces. And this will be, we're going to use this on our second card. So I'm going to put this off to the side. And I also want to mention that I used day 5's background snowflake, and I created a vellum piece with that. So we have the beautiful framed snowflake, and we're going to layer these two together for our first card. And then these are the stitching elements. We can save that for another card. Before we jump in and do our stitching, I want to create my background only because I need it to have a little bit of time to dry. So I'm going to put this off to the side. Now for my background, I'm going to be using an A2 panel of the red cardstock. I believe this is Spellbinders Color Essential Poppy Field. I'm going to use my paper trimmer. I'm going to take my A2 panel and I'm going to trim this down to 4.5 inches. And I'm going to do a little bit of ink blending on the edges, just using my inks. The inks that I'm going to be using are black and red. I'm using Memento inks. And I'm just going to use a blending brush. And I'm going to add some color along the edges. I love the richness that this gives. And I'm going to fade in towards the middle to create kind of a glowing look on this panel. You see how it kind of glows towards the center? This is with my red ink. Next, I'll take my black ink, and this is just going to make it stand out. I'll use a blending brush, and I'm going to go around the edges with this, darkening up those edges. Now my background is almost done. What we're going to do next is take some white paint. I'm using some Distress Ink Reinker. This is PICKET Fence. I'm going to add some ink here on my craft mat, and then using a paintbrush, I'm going to pick up some of this ink. I'm not even going to dilute it, but I'm going to add some splatter in the background. This is what's going to take a little bit of time to dry. Now I'm going to set this off to the side, and then we are going to do a little bit of stitching. Before we start our stitching, I thought we would, this is an ornament, okay, and then you have the ornament top, but I thought we would turn our ornament into a peppermint candy. I love candy canes and I love peppermint candies for Christmas. So before we stitch, I'm going to bring in a trio of red inks. And then what we're going to do is color in every other wedge. There's some debossed detail on here that helps with your stitching, and I'm going to take advantage of that and use my red Copic markers, and we're going to color in each of these wedges. We're going to alternate every other one to create a peppermint candy. So we have a little peppermint candy. I'm also going to go in with a gray marker. I'm going to use my C3 marker, my C2 marker, and I'm just going to add a little shading on my peppermint candy. This is just going to make it pop. And there is our candy. Now we are going to add some sparkle to this using some red embroidery floss and then also our gold embroidery floss. There's two different shades of red. One of the reds has a color variant on it. I'm just going to use the solid red here. I want 2 strands, so we're going to go ahead and separate 2 strands. I have 2 strands here, and then now we're going to mix it. We're going to create a customized floss. I'm going to take my gold. I'm going to add 2 strands of gold here. So we have 2 strands of red and then 2 strands of gold. So my needle is threaded. I'm going to go ahead and take my peppermint candy and I'm going to go up through the middle here. I'll flip around my ornament, and in our stitch along kit we have some small foam squares. And this is going to work perfectly to secure that thread down. So I'm going to add one right over my floss, secure it really well, and then I'll use my scissors and trim away the excess. So the foam tape is going to work double duty. It's going to pop up my ornament and it's also going to secure that thread. Now's the fun part. I'm going to go in and then I'm going to go up through the middle. I'm going to hold it a little bit, and then I will go up through the middle, and then we'll go in on the edge, up through the middle, and then we just continue around this little circle until all of our stitching is done. It doesn't take no time at all. And I'm just about done. I have a couple more sections. And again, I'm just going up through the middle to the end, up through the middle, and then to the end. And then we have our little peppermint with a little bit of sparkle. I'm going to go ahead and flip over my peppermint, and then we're going to add one more foam square, securing this end, and then I'll trim away the excess here. Now that we have our peppermint candy done, we're going to continue on with our background, and we have our joy. I'm going to use some glue. We're going to add it to the back side of our joy, and then I'm going to glue this on the red shadow. We'll go ahead and that is such a pretty stitched die. Okay, after we have this adhered, I'm going to add a little glue behind the top of my ornament, and we're going to add this to the very top here. And I'm going to take this joy, add some glue behind here, and I'm going to add it to my glitter joy. We're going to offset this also a little bit. I wanted a little bit of sparkle in our background. This may take a little time to adhere. So we have some gold sparkle peeking out of there. I'm going to remove the release paper off of our foam squares, and I'm going to add one more foam square. And then we're going to add our ornament in its home. And then in our stitch along kit, we have some lovely spectrum gems. I'm going to go ahead and add one gem to the center of our joy here. And I think that is just wonderful. Now, since we have our gold thread out, I'm going to go ahead and tie a bow with this. And then I'll add a little bit of glue to the top of my ornament. And we're going to secure our bow right to that. And I'll go ahead and trim the tails of my gold floss here. So our joy is all done. I went ahead and adhered my outline to my vellum, and then I'm going to go ahead and place my joy right in the center here, and I'm just going to add glue around the middle portion, and we will add this to the center. We need to turn it a little bit. Now, to create the background for my card, I'm going to take my panel. It's just about dry. I think there's a few areas that need a little bit of help. But I'm going to go ahead and take some of my brushed silver cardstock. I'm going to trim down a 1-inch strip. And you'll notice I'm cutting it portrait style. I am going to end up trimming a little bit off, but I'm doing that because I'm going to use the same cardstock, and I'm going to trim 2 1/2-inch strips with this also. This is going to be for my next card. So we're going to put these off to the side, take our 1-inch strip. I'm going to adhere it to the very bottom of my card base. My card base today is a standard A2 size card base. And just using my tape runner, we're going to adhere this to the bottom. I'm going to take my ink blended background panel, and we're going to adhere it to the very top of our card here. And then just for a little extra sparkle, we're going to bring in this gold circle cording, and we're going to cover the seam with this. And this is very sturdy, so I can use my tape runner for this. I'm just going to trim off what I need. To finish off, we're going to take our day 8, our Joy Stitchmas die. I'm going to add some glue just behind the vellum here. We're going to tack this right down the center of that upper portion. And that finishes my first project. Now we're going to jump in to our next project. We already die cut out our joy, and we're going to do some peppermint candy with this also. So I'll take the same markers and I will ink up every other wedge here. For this peppermint, I'm going to go ahead and use all gold. So I'm going to use 3 strands. I'm going to go ahead and flip over my peppermint candy. I will thread this through first. And then we'll secure one of our foam squares right over that gold embroidery floss. And then I'll trim away what's overhanging here. And then basically we are going to go in through the hole, and then we're going to go over on the end, under, in the middle of the candy. Over on the end, and then in the center of the candy, in through the middle. And we're just going to repeat this. So my second peppermint candy with the gold floss is all complete. We're going to go ahead and put a gem in this as well, like we did the first card, for a little bit of sparkle. I'm going to take my joy, I'm going to adhere it to the background of my shadow, and then I'll remove the release paper off of these foam squares and we can tack this down on our background. So fun. I love the sparkle that this adds. Okay, for this card, we're going to bring in another die set. The die set that I'm going to be using is the Spellbinders Christmas Bird Poinsettia. And I thought we would create a candy cane to go with our peppermint. We're going to use the red cardstock and die cut out the candy cane with our red and our white, the mistletoe leaf with just one with our white, and then with both of our green cardstock, I'm going to be using the pine needles. We'll die cut out 2 of these with our darker green, and then we have a couple of holly leaves. We'll die cut this out with our light green. I believe this is fern cardstock and this is peridot. Okay, we're going to die cut this out, and then while we're die cutting, I also have a Spellbinders border die set. This is the winter borders, and I love this kind of scalloped edge with dotted detail. I'm going to create 2 borders on this white panel, about 1 inch tall. I'll die cut one out this side so I have a straight edge, and then I'll flip it around and die cut out another one with this. So I have a little bit of die cutting to do. I will be right back. My die cutting is all finished, and I did go ahead and create my candy cane. And we're going to start off by taking our borders. I'm going to use my tape runner, and we're going to adhere this. For this card, we're going to make it a landscape style card. So I'm going to take my die cut borders. I'm going to layer 1 on the bottom here. I'll add some adhesive to the other side. And we'll tack this down on the very top. And then these are the 2 strips of the brushed silver cardstock that we cut earlier. I'm going to add this to the very bottom of the scallop, on the top and the bottom. Since we have a seam here with our brushed silver, I'm going to bring back some of that gold circle metallic cording, and I'm going to add some detail over the seam here on the top and the bottom. Now we have a little sparkle. Now before we adhere this down, I think I want my candy cane to be tucked under the swirl of the J. Now since we glued that down with glue, that's not going to go anywhere. But I'm going to place where I want my candy cane. And I think that's a good spot. Now that looks kind of funny. So what we're going to do is lift up our peppermint carefully. And then I'm going to go ahead and take another joy that we die cut out, and I'm going to layer them. I'm going to sandwich my candy cane in between. This way you can see that beautiful swirl on the joy. And it gives our sentiment a little bit of extra dimension also. So we'll just layer this right on top. So now you can still see the swirl of the joy. I'm going to go ahead and replace my peppermint back where it's meant to be. And then I'm going to add some foam tape behind my sentiment, and we're going to pop it up on this card here. We'll tack this down, and then we're going to take our greenery. I'm going to add some glue behind here, and I'm just going to go down the spine of the pine needles, and we're going to tuck it under here. We'll do a little tucking. We'll go ahead and add our... I am going to go ahead and bring back my gems, and we're going to add a couple to the center of those holly leaves here. I'm going to use the big ones, and we'll create a little holly berry cluster here. And then we'll add a few extras, kind of spread out that sparkle. And that will finish off my second project using the Spellbinders 12 Days of Stitchmas Day 8 die set. Such a fun die set, so versatile. I hope this gives you some inspiration. Thanks for joining me. Have a fabulous day. Bye-bye.